why the world isn't yet ready and mature enough to understand Shiva Bhaks. So I so much wanted to do this video today. I'm sitting in front of a rising sun, and that makes it all the more beautiful. That too in winters. So yeah. So actually I have a story to tell you, around this. So the story goes like, um, I've been actually watching Shiv Shakti nowadays. That's been broadcasted here in Bharat, in India. Um, so it's a Hindu mythology series, that's been broadcasted here nowadays, and I've been watching that and learning a lot from it. I'd been on my spiritual path for like 7-8 years, and I have had my spiritual awakening last year. So it's going to be about 2 years, and yeah. I'm gonna enter the next year. We are very much at the end of 2024. So let's just start with the story. So what happens is there is this demon, okay, and so the demon, he symbolizes darkness. He symbolizes andhakar, okay. So and he is very much jealous of Shiva, because everybody worships Shiva, you know and though Shiva is somebody who doesn't care, and that is why people, I think, worship Shiva, because he doesn't care, right? He is more of like, he sits aloof somewhere, in the mountains, or you'll find him in the crematory grounds. He's not somebody who wants to be worshipped, you know something like that. Though he has a family, he has married Shakti, um, or Parvati, and he has 3 kids as well. He's also a family man. So yeah, but of course he's light, right? He symbolizes light. So so these so this demon, is very much he wants that people should worship him. So darkness, at the level of consciousness that he is, he decides that, if if he wants that people should worship him, what should he do? So he spreads fear, okay, which is completely opposite to what Shiva does. Like, he doesn't care. That is why, people who just don't care, the whole life comes in open itself in front of them. People have gone through spiritual awakening. People, you lose your desires become less a lot. So before walking my spiritual path, I had stupid desires. This is what I want to call it. I yeah, as a kid, like, while I was growing up, it is very much put into our head, that certain things. So I wanted, to to get into a career which is very socially respectable, which is civil services. So at some point of time, I was even thinking that, you know and then of course my desires changed, that too very easily. It was so, like, the fragility of desires, that we have, and we think that we want that so much, but then life happens, And and we find, oh my god, I was never this desire, I never wanted to have this, but I just picked it up you know so as a teenager I thought that I'll do something I'll be an independent woman, and I'll be socially respectable, I'll do this. As a kid I thought that, I mean, of course I thought other things as well. One part of me was like I wanted to be a writer, and one part of was also this, but ultimately I think the writer in me won. Then the girl who just so much wanted to be independent. So yeah, I realize the fragility of desires. How much we've been programmed to have a certain desire. So yeah, and we just pick it up from people around. So what is my story of I wanted to come into civil services and didn't come. So I was very focused. I was like, I will go for training, civil services, everything. So so while I was doing my college, yeah, I think first year, second year maybe. So I actually went to this uh, coaching center, and so I have a way of bringing stories in between a bigger story. I have a way of bringing in ideas and you know um, in the bigger idea, so I do that. So bear with me. So I'll come back to the story, but I was just trying to tell you the fragility of desires that we have. So I went to a coaching center, and I said that I want to, and I was just they were giving the brochure, they were trying to explain what are we going to do. We have our classes on, you can have a class on weekends, you can have a, so they were very much getting uh, basically the timings were not good. Like if I take Monday to Friday kind of classes, then I'll have to miss my college. And if I take उस वक्त ऑनलाइन नहीं था, it's just way back, right? I mean ऑनलाइन पढ़ाई है वो सब नहीं था. So उस वक्त प्रॉपर कोचिंग क्लासेस होती थी ना. Of course it has come into being after corona period, the online coaching classes. But so Saturday, and they gave me Saturday and Sunday kind of a brochure as well. But I used to have my theater. I had theater in my college, so I had my theater on Saturdays, and and I could have missed that. But I enjoyed theater so much, so much, so much. I was like, no, I am not going to get my coaching on the behalf of or against missing my theater classes. I'm not going to do that, never going to do that. And that's when I realized the fragility of desires we have. We think we want that so much, we want that social status so much, we think we want that car, we think we want that house so much, we think we want that relationship so much, we think we want everything to go okay so much, and we think we want some situations to go okayish, but in reality, what is your real self? So I had my spiritual awakening, I've gone through an ego death, and I have discovered my real self, and I'm still discovering my real self. I am moving into the new the 5D earth. There have been talks about 3D and 5D earth. You can also look at you can also go through, if you want to know about the new earth, 3D earth, 5D earth, so you can just go through one of my videos, you want to find them, which is about what is the difference of what is the separation between 3D and 5D earth. So you can just check that out. So yeah, I've gone through an ego death, and I'm discovered my new self, and of course I'm discovering it every day, and yeah, and I feel more peaceful, I feel more liberated, I feel more relaxed, I feel in more acceptance of myself. Now I really feel what is self-love. you know. We think that I don't know why they're doing this, you know. There are a lot of Instagram, you know, reels where they'll show that a woman is really, you know, she has a Gucci bag, she has a lot of shopping bags with her, and you know, she's going about, and it's self love. uh, it is not that it could not be, but self love is such a spiritual process, you know. Accepting yourself in the way you are, you know, um, and really accepting yourself. Like, you naturally feel that acceptance within you. It's not that you are trying to, you know, force yourself into accepting yourself, forcing yourself into, but you genuinely go through a process and it naturally comes to you. Om Namah Shivaya. They were fighting. Crows were fighting. Have you ever seen crows fighting? Weird things happening. Basically, it's very dark, you know. The month that we have entered, it's very dark. I mean, dark is not wrong. Not always. Especially when you're light, dark is not at all wrong. When you become dark with the dark, then that's wrong. So yeah, this is winters, and you know, it is what do we call that? Margali month of Hindu calendar, right? So which is very slow. It's, you know, you can enter dark realms, you know, easily. Okay, so you need to strive a little, you know, a little more to get into the lighter realms, higher realms, you know. You have to do a little more, you know, because it's easy to enter into the darkness, you know. Like, you know, there are certain months where it's easy to enter into the light, there are certain months where it's easy to enter into the dark. So we can use both of it for ourselves, for our striving towards a spiritual evolution, right? Yeah, for the evolution of ourselves. So yes, so you know, when dark is around, it's always a little weird, you know. Can. So yeah, where was I was trying to tell you the fragility of desires that we have, right? And I went through my ego death, and you know, I discovered my new self, and that's, you know, and I became more liberated. I gained more trust towards the universe, and now I feel, you know, after my spiritual awakening, I feel the contrast, you know. I feel that comparatively people are more in the fear because they have literally traded their trust, you know. They've literally traded their trust. People think, they just think that money is wealth, but it is not. It is not. They have literally traded their trust, you know. They gave it to another person, they gave their trust, or they gave their trust to another situation, they gave their trust into another thing, they have put their trust into something else, you know, from a place of fear. You know what I mean? They've literally traded their trust. They have put so much efforts in the external rather than putting efforts in the internal, you know. Forget people being skeptical, you know, not being fearful, not being trustworthy. Forget people being skeptical nowadays. People are fearful nowadays. And they work from fear, and everybody thinks that it is normal to work from a place of fear. It's okay to be fearful. No, it's not, my dear. It's not okay to be fearful. So yeah, I've regained more trust. There was a point in my life when I was really fearful. I remember going through my spiritual awakenings, and you know, it showed effects on my body because I had no ground to touch. You know, when I was in the midst of my spiritual awakening, when I was, you know, when I was on that path, you know, there is a new name that has come for it, the dark night of the soul, you know, where you really, because there is no ground to touch. There is no ground to touch when you are on the spiritual awakening. Now, of course, people who are in ego, people who've not got through an spiritual awakening, they have a ground to touch, and their ground is in external things, external people, external experiences, external degrees, external courses, you know, external job that they're doing, you know, their external boss, their external relationship. So people have a ground when they're in their ego. And then when you come into a spiritual awakening, you go through a dark night of the soul and you have no ground to touch. You don't know where you can put your foot on. You don't understand any sort of thing. You become you know, your whole psyche, you know, it just goes through a upside down. It's like, what, I was believing in this, what, I was believing in that, no, it's not true, no, it's this is not true. So you know, it's you complete. And I remember my hands shaking. I remember the panic attacks that I had, you know. um, Especially the last panic attack I had, I think was way extreme, I remember. And it was scary. So yeah, spiritual awakening also happens to the body. It's not an easy task, you know, it's not. And when you come on the other side of the spiritual awakening, it's like, what, for learning such a small detail, for learning such things, I had to, you know, to cover such a difficult journey. You know, it's a thing like that. You know how Buddha, he went to every school, he did all kinds of fasting, he did everything that he could, you know, which is in the name of spirituality. And once he got enlightened, he was like, bring me in the meal, you know, I want to have food, you know. Because and it's literally like that. You know, it's literally like that. So yeah, I had my spiritual awakening, and you know, my while I was going on my spiritual path, my desires started to decrease, because I was realizing the stupidity of those desires. I was realizing that most of these desires are not even mine. And also I realized that what is happening in the universe right now, things that I'm not getting, had so much meaning in my life. You know, if I had those things at that point of time, I couldn't be where am I now, you know. And trust me, I'm unemployed right now. I quit my job last year, you know. and and I think what are the important things of a human life, you know. You being around good people, you being around good company, you having a life partner, and you having a job, you're earning well, you're having good food, you're into a good house, or let's just say even shelter, right? And yeah, this is what I have a good house, you know. And yeah, I can go, I'm going about my survival process just fine. But yeah, there are things that you know, what you call a successful human life, I don't have it right now. I don't have a job right now. I am into a midst of a whole lot of things, you know. I'm still processing my spiritual awakening. I'm not into a relationship anyhow right now. So yeah, um, so but I'm happy, you know. I am happy that, I mean, it's very internal, you know. The things that I'm gaining are very internal, and none can know the joy of it, you know, until they have also gone through that, until they have also discovered that. So that's how it works, right? Where was I? Where was I? Don't know. I don't remember. I have a way of not remembering things. So yeah, my desires actually decreased, and you know, some of the desires I found were not even mine. I picked it up from my parents, I got influenced by my parents, I was never influenced by peers. Yeah, I don't know, somehow I just saw through that my peers were really so much in influence, you know, in terms of their career choices, is how I felt. Okay. So yeah, and I was influenced by society somehow, and I wanted a socially respectable job and everything, you know, and yeah, yeah, that was my life. Yeah. So yeah, let's come back to the story. So this, a devil from a lower consciousness, he thought that, let me just um, you know dark he the demon represent darkness, so from a lower consciousness he thought that if I spread fear I could have a power over people, whereas Shiva, who doesn't have any desire because he's spiritually awakened, he represents an awakened, and a very balanced masculine feminine, ardhanarish, but what we call him. So he doesn't have his desires. His the whole world bows at him, because he has discovered his, the real self, uh, but this demon, who is not spiritually awakened and is, in and he thinks that, by fear he can conquer people. you know and Shiva, who is aloof in the mountains or in the crematory grounds, he is somebody who realizes that there is no need to conquer people. you know he doesn't feel that lack, you know whereas the demon, a person from a lower consciousness, a person from an ego, will always feel a lack, and how to fill that lack, how to fill that void, by getting people to believe him, by getting people to, worship him or bow down to him, by making people to get influenced by him. That's how he will fill that lack, that's how he'll fill that void. We do that. When I'm into stress, I eat a lot. I try to, fill that void with food. I try to distract myself, from, rather than sitting and looking at what is it that's making me trigger, what is it that's making me anxious. I sit and eat food. We do that, right? That's a person working from lower consciousness. So at some point of time I had a eating disorder, and I'm working on it. you know I am realizing how markets are built, just to make us go down. You know, they're literally putting sugars, they're literally putting emulsifiers, preservatives in everything where it's not even done. There's so many new business that are coming up, and they're saying we don't have to have those preservatives and chemicals. And now sugar alternatives have also been taken into perspective. The new small companies that are coming up, and really giving those options, and just makes me think that preservatives and all of this was never needed. But don't you feel it's a dark agenda, to make your mind slow down, to make your brain slow down, so that you know that that 1% or 10% striving that you should be making, to escape, you don't even do that, right? You have a lot of food, you go to sleep, and you get up again, you have a lot of food, you go to sleep, you have sugars, your brain doesn't work, and it's a vicious cycle that they want to put you into. So yeah. So I feel it's a dark agenda. How a lot of companies coming up, it is needed, that is why they're coming up. Somewhere people are awakening on the planet, that is why it is coming up. Now small companies are coming up talking about health, talking about sugar alternatives that are better, and yeah, there are things that are coming up without preservatives, without emulsifiers, or at least less in some ways. So yeah. Yeah, so my spiritual awakening is actually awakening me, how, there are certain forces, there are good forces as well, and there are certain forces as well who try to bring you down, and they will never come out, and you will never know them. They'll never know come out in public. They are sitting, in their wealthy houses, they're sitting in their wealthy cars, and just making a call and telling what decision to be taken, so that their company gets the more profit, and it is seen as intelligent. Which brings me again to the point that why world is not yet mature enough to understand Shiva Bhaks, because they literally appear very naive, and so here the story goes. So what happens is that so what this demon does, he wants to bring in the fear in front of people, and he doesn't like that people worship Shiva. So what he does is he brings in a lot of shivlings. Okay, so he gets almost all shivlings from the world, from earth, and put that into his palace. Okay, so he bring all these shivlings into his palace, and so in order to trap the worshippers of Shiva. So Shiva has a family, and then the people who stay with him are Shivgans. Okay, Shivgans, for example, Nandi is a Shivgan, right? Shivgans means the companions of Shiva. Okay, so there are these companions of Shiva, who also stay with Shiva, and they go out, they offer water to Shivling, they do the puja, and to the Shivling, because Shivling symbolizes Shiva, right, in our Hindu tradition. So so he gets all this shivling into his palace, and he says that now I'll trap these companions of Shiva, now I'll trap these worshippers of Shiva. They have to come, they have to offer their daily offerings that they do, the daily puja that they do, and for that they have to come to the palace, and when they'll come to the palace, I'll trap them, or I'll make them, or I'll tease them, or whatever, like that. So, and these Shivgans, knowing what is going to happen, knowing they'll get into the trap, they say we are going. Parvati even tries to stop them. They said we are going, and we do that every day, and it's okay, we'll see, so you will find that, and they will appear very naive to people, right? Like how naive they are, because people are working from a place of fear. I see a whole lot of time, that people who are very much working from a place of fear, because they have literally traded, you just imagine a man or a woman, or imagine a human being, they literally have a battery. Imagine having a battery of trust, and they literally trade that trust every day. They put all their faith into the external rather than putting the faith into their own self, so relatively you will find that people are fearful nowadays. So so they are very innocent, they are very naive, and it is actually a very intelligent way to be, in some ways, because they have not lost their trust in the universe. They know even if they go into trouble, they know they have a trust in the universe. They know that they are right and nothing can happen to them. They know they are on the right path, they know their heart is pure, and that kind of understanding. Now people people, they're not that foolish, let's say, but they like to see what they want to see. So what happens is that when all these Shivgans, they come to the palace, to do their daily offerings and everything. So what happens is that this demon, he tries to tease them, and he actually puts a blind fold on all their eyes, which has a magical spell on it, so they can't even open that without the permission of the demon. Until the demon wants to remove it, they cannot remove it. So he puts a magical spell on all these blindfolds, and all the Shivgans get blindfolded, and symbolizing that how, you know, he tries to get them into the darkness as well, you know. And what happens is that he said, um you know, Shiv Guns, and of course the demon tries to laugh at him. You are so naive, you're so foolish, knowing that what I will do. You've come here, you know, you are so naive, so innocent. How foolish are these worshippers of Shiva? Now let me show you everything. And he says, yeah, we'll do our daily offering that we do. We don't give, you know, a damn you know, about anything. We want to do what we want to do. And they ask Shiva for help, you know, and Shiva helps, and they're able to navigate the shivlings in the palace, and they do their daily offerings, you know. And so now there was a bet, okay, that if we won, if we did our daily offerings, then you will do as we say. So any guesses what these you know, Shivgans would have asked for? Of course, they were blindfolded, right? They were not blindfolded before, but because of this demon, they got blindfolded. So they should have asked to, you know, get these blindfolds off, right? But they didn't. That's what I'm saying. The world is not yet mature enough to understand Shiva bugs, where these companies are really making profits over the lives of others. You know, they are basically negating the laws of universe. You know, the laws of universe goes like highest good of all. It's not about you, it's about, you know, everyone. You know, nature works that way. Then who are we to not work that way? And you know, they somehow, you know, people who are very profit minded and everything, you know, they are able to navigate profits into things, and they think they thought of very intelligent. But I'm sorry, ask me. I had my spiritual awakening last year, and I know who are more intelligent. So I would probably say Shivgans, a companion of Shiva. I would probably say the innocent ones or the naive ones, you know. And because these, you know, even in your, as a kid, everyone is, as a kid, everyone has a kind of a trust in the universe, you know. And then of course you go through certain experiences that makes you, you know, lose your trust in the universe, lose your trust in the people, lose your trust elsewhere. But what's special about Shivgans is that they don't place their trust on people, things, experiences, companies, or degrees and everything. They put their trust in Shiva. They put their trust in the overall, right? They somehow know, even if things go wrong, while putting trust in the wrong people, they know they will, they just know that pure hearts always win, you know. And they look at the whole picture. They are very perceptive. They have their third eye, okay. Yeah, so I've talked about third eye as well in many of my videos. The third eye doesn't mean like some magical thing over here. Third eye means to see more than, you know. I read a book actually which said that it's by Mingyur Rinpoche. So he's a Buddhist monk. So he talked about like how every object, you know, for example, if you can see this reeling, right? So this is actually 99% vacant and only 1% solid. Can you imagine that? I hope I'm getting the percentage correct. So what you see is so less, you know. Anything solid has 99% space. Can you imagine that? It's only 1%. Anything solid, okay? Anything solid is 99% vacant, right? So there's so many things that we don't see, you know. We see our physical bodies, the whole other bodies as well to us, you know. We made up of 5 elements, you know, and they got so mixed up everything, and you know, you can't figure out which element what. But there's so many things that these 2 eyes cannot see. That's why they refer to as third eye. So they appear naive, but they're very intelligent, you know. So rather than asking for you know, for getting their blindfolds off, they say ki, what you do is you hail Lord Shiva, you know, for 11 times. So you do that, okay? You say Har Har Mahadev 11 times. You do that, we'll just go. So they're very crazy. They appear very crazy. They appear very nice. The most intelligent beings is how I feel. They're so liberated inside. They don't care. About the external. They don't care about their eyes could see or not. Because they know their hearts can always navigate through the things. They have understood. They've connected to the real self. And literally, I had uncanny intuitions on my life path, on my spiritual journey, you know and it was literally like my two eyes were blindfolded. It was literally like, because, and of course everyone called me crazy, literally. Everyone did call. That's why I relate more to being a Shiva Bhakt, and yeah. And I was always somebody who never went to the temples, not this, but I hadn't trust in spirituality. Like, spirituality means what? Like, I always wanted to know. I always wanted to understand the universe. Like, I always felt there should be a subject known as lifeology. We can just discuss life. Like, I don't know, but which, yeah. So always been that person. So yeah. So people have literally called me crazy for following my uncanny intuitions. And of course, they never understood that I was having an intuition, because they always work from this dimension. They never connected to their heart. So they can never understand the workings of the heart, because they are too much connected from here. They're too much connected to the ego, to the mind, to the here is the voice of everyone. Here's the voice of your religion, here's the voice of your culture, here's the voice of your parents, here's the voice of your peers, here's the voice of here's all the outside forces, right? But here, from heart only, you can navigate your life path, your life journey. And I had these uncanny intuitions, and and it didn't make sense to this, and my that's how I went to an ego death, and I went to several ego deaths actually. Whenever I followed my intuition, this was like, what? Are you following your heart? Are you following what your intuition is saying? It doesn't make sense. Everybody's going to call you crazy. Everybody's going to laugh at you. People did, and after some point of time, I started to think that I should not be talking about it, because they cannot understand it, right? But I was fearful. I wanted a little bit of validation from outside. That's why I told people. But of course, I just forget validations. I was literally thought of as crazy, thought of as they literally tried to pull me down to what they were, right? Because what they knew, right, from their level of consciousness. So I understood that it's my spiritual path and I can only walk alone. No one can come with me. And I thought that, let me experiment, let me be skeptical. It's very experimental. Spiritual journey is very experimental, right? So yeah. So rather than asking, rather than asking to get their blindfolds off, they say ki you hail Lord Shiva, you say Har Har Mahadev for 11 times. And you have to see the face of that demon. It's like, what are they peace people saying? And of course, he says, and the demon has to go by the bet, and he says, hail Lord Shiva 11 times. And the other companions of the demons got scared. But what if he becomes Shiva Bhaks? He has, Har Har Mahadev bolne se, if he's saying all this, what if he becomes Shiva Bhakt? What if he starts liking, chanting his name, and he likes it, because some demons become, Shiva Bhaks. So they get really fearful, okay? Because how ego wants company, how ego wants validation, how ego always want, how religion is, what people do in religion. They really try to, should I say this very openly, but there are certain, okay, let me not take the name. So there are certain religions who try to convert, let's not talk about, yes, there are certain religions, there are certain, they try to trap, other people into their religion, through certain ways. Okay, that's that the crimes have been reported. But then even I have seen, I've seen some reels, I've seen some YouTube shorts where people really trying to convince the person from another religion to come into their religion. And I feel it is such a waste of time, rather you understanding why you are following this religion, why are you into this religion. You are working on your ego, you're trying to fill that void, try to fill that anxiety. There are certain things that are wrong. Hi, it's a crow. Wow. Wow. पास मत आइयो भाई मेरे प्लीज, थोड़ा थोड़ा डर लगता है, बट यू आर ब्यूटीफुल. दिखाऊं तो दिख रहा है? कैन यू सी हिम? I don't know if you can. Ah, now you can see him. Oi! Ah, eagle. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, rather than working on their own selves, I don't know. He was so. I don't know. The crow looks so. When you look into the eyes of these, animals and birds, it looks so innocent. It looked so innocent. When you look into the eyes, they appear so innocent, so beautiful. So, yeah. तो कहाँ पर थी मैं? Where was I यार? आंखों में खो गई मैं. Where was I? याद आ जाएगा अभी. Oh God. Yeah, rather than working on why you are following, because there was my parents are very religious, okay, but there were certain things that I never understood about our gods, so I had to find my answers into spirituality and everything. But what if I took other people into confidence why you should follow this religion because I am following this religion? I think it's a distraction, isn't it? I see people who are literally trying to convince other people to get into the religion, trying to convert them into their religion. And ego is like that. Ego wants people, ego wants crowd, you're trying to distract yourself. If you know what you want or what your heart is navigating you into, you will always have the courage to walk it even alone. So when I never got my validation from others and people actually laughed and called me crazy for following the intuitions that I had on my life path, I always had this courage to go forward. I said, even if it goes wrong, at least, it will be my decision. That's a Geet's dialogue from Jab We Met. But yeah, she makes sense. In that one scene, she makes so much sense. At least if things go wrong, at least it's gonna be my decision. Even if I make mistake, at least it's gonna be my mistake. At least I'm living my life in a very liberated manner. I'm not getting influenced by other people. Even if I do wrong, it is my experiment. I'm supposed to live, right? Geet's dialogue is, so Geet is a character from a movie Jab We Met. So she says that, at least if I make mistakes, that's gonna be my mistakes, right? So I never understood, why people try to convert other people into their religion. Like, I feel it's a kind of distraction. Let them do what they want to do, right? You focus on why you are following that religion, or do you think that everything about this religion is right, or there are certain problems with it, because every religion has certain kind of a problem, and when you get into spirituality, you understand some good sides of your religion and some bad sides of your religion as well, because over the times our books have been manipulated, our stories have been manipulated, there are a lot of opinions and judgments given, especially the West gave a lot of opinions on our scriptures, and all the things that we had, so yeah. So yeah, over the time, some religious things, get into a rigid thing, and they are manipulated over time by demons, especially I learned from somewhere demons use religion actually, to manipulate, to distract human beings from their heart, into their brain. How Eve ate apple, and after that, she started thinking. That is the kind of story that is there in Christianity, right? Like, she ate an apple and intellect came, and they started wearing clothes, they started into shame and guilt. Suddenly, from very wild creatures that they weren't wearing clothes and everything, started wearing clothes, and yeah, they started getting more conscious of their own self rather being connected, or existing in the consciousness of the planet, rather existing in the consciousness of the nature. They got very much into themselves. Now it became so much about themselves. They got into their ego, right? Distracted from their heart. So yeah, so all these the companions of demons started to tell him that you come on our side, okay? Like you have chanted this, but be cautious, okay? Don't become a Shiva bhakt, okay? You have chanted this Har Har Mahadev 11 times, don't become a Shiva bhakt, okay? Because you know the more people there are, you know the more confidence you will get. Why am I following this path? अरे 5 लोग और follow कर रहे हैं यार. There are 100 other more who are following this religion. That is why I'm following this religion. Are we all 100 fools, or are we all 100 crazy? But somebody is walking from the heart, even if he's alone. He knows he wants to walk that path. He always gets the courage. Some people come and tell, I want to do this so much, but I don't have the courage. It's because somewhere it's not your heart's voice. If it's your heart's voice, you are into that clarity. So my guru Sadhguru always says that first work on your being, then work on doing, and then having. But what is how we are programmed into the Maya, into the matrix? First work on doing, do a lot of effort, everything, and then you have degrees, and then you'll get a job, and then you enjoy your life. That is what we are told. You pass 10th, you enjoy life. You pass 12th board, you enjoy life. You pass college, you do job, you get into marriage, then you enjoy life. And that you enjoy life never comes, right? So my guru Sadhguru, he says that how it is actually reverse. First work on your being. First work, and nobody is going to give you any profit. Nobody is going to give you any certificates. Nobody is going to give you any money for it. Nobody is going to make you an employee for it. Nobody is going to give you food. Nobody is going to give you appreciation. Even your own family members sometimes going to think that you're crazy and you're foolish. Why into spirituality? But forget appreciation, people are going to go against you. So I have been told that you've been boring, you're into spirituality, nobody is into that, you're being depressed, I do this after 60. So I've been also told a lot of things. I'm talking years back. Now there's still some kind of an awakening that's there present in the people, but I'm talking about years back. So yeah, people are never forget appreciation. They're going to put you down, they're rather going to put their opinions and judgments into it. So but when it's your heart desire, when you worked on your, so always work on your being, always close your eyes, ask yourself what you want, what is necessary, where you are in life, what you want to really do with your life. Are you in touch with the life, are you in touch with the universe? So ask these questions a lot. So yeah, so yeah, so yeah, my guru always says that work on your being, okay? Work on your being. So when you work on your being, then automatically you're doing, you will know what to do, and then automatically you will have what is needed for you. And I was reading one of his posts the other day. So I have many gurus, he's one of my guru, and yeah. So I was reading his post the other day where it was said that now you are wealthy, okay? Now you want to overeat. There are people on the streets who are not getting food enough, and then there are wealthy people in their house, in their homes, who are eating way more than what it is needed. That's the imbalance. Both are in grave situations. One who's overeating will also go into, illness. One who's not eating, who's malnourished, also will go into illness. So both the parties, there is an imbalance, and this imbalance can be corrected when we go through an ego death, when we know exactly how much to eat and exactly how much, कहते हैं ना, दाने दाने पे लिखा है खाने वाले का नाम. So it is said that it is destined, with what food is made for somebody and what food is made for some. So when you are eating somebody else's food, that is supposed to go into somebody else's stomach, when you are eating that, you're overeating that, just because you're wealthy, just because you can afford it, right? So you're eating way more than what is needed. You will also go into illness, and that person, you are actually eating his part. This earth is very balanced. Some food has to go to some person and some food has to go to some person in a very balanced way. Earth has decided it. Yes, there are certain karmas people have to go through, and they might, that's the earth's balance. But when you go through an ego death, you exactly know what to eat. Your intuition becomes so perfect. I actually saw this woman years ago. She used to tell them, my gut knows what fruit I want to eat today. My intuition is so amazing that I know what to eat today. There is time when my gut says, my intuition says that she would actually put fruits close to her navel. Like she says that she had her own way of, she would put fruits close to her gut. I'm forgetting the name. There was this beautiful couple. They were like, I think they must be around 50s or 60s. Beautiful couple they were. And they were literally teaching how when you eat food according to your intuition, how much to eat and what kind of nutrition your body is asking right now. It's asking for an apple, it's asking for an orange, it's asking for vitamin C, it's asking for some else mineral. When you are very much in tune with your body, when you're very much in tune with your heart space, when you've gone through an ego death, when you understand it is not about me, it is about what needs to happen, or when you are in tune with the consciousness of the earth, you would know what to eat. So she would do that literally with her body. So imagine that, right? So yeah, so work on your being first, and nobody is going to give you any certificates for it. Nobody is even going to motivate you for it. People are going to think you're a fool. You should be working. I have literally kept spirituality even above my career. And trust me, I was always that girl in school who thought that I will become an independent woman, I'll earn money, and I worked for like 5 years of my life. And it's not that I don't want to work, but I am going through certain changes, and but I was always that girl who was like, I just want to be independent. I even thought that maybe I'll never marry and I'll just adopt a kid. In school, I really thought that, I'll adopt a kid and I'll live a very independent life, and I'll be a working woman, and that's how I thought my life would be, yeah. Yeah. So always that kind of a person. It was so funny that how I thought that all this, I can manage all of this, all alone, I think it was very stupid of me to think that way. अब वो बड़े होते तो when you grow old, you understand that forget managing the life of another soul with you, another kid with you. First, it's so important to get your life into balance, get your life into perspective, get your life together, get your shit together, basically. So yeah, so nobody is going to really motivate you for working on your being, for working what you are as a person, what you want, But you should do that. Literally, you should do that. So, I think we can end. I'm also very tired, and it's been 54 minutes. Wow. So, yeah, 54 minutes and going. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for liking, subscribing to my channel, and if you really like this video, or if you think that this video could really help somebody, or you feel that somebody should really see this video, please share it. Please let it move through, into the consciousness of the people, if you think that is really worth it. So, or even if you can like, I'm sure it is, the algorithm will make it reach other people as well, or if you can comment, right? Thank you for watching the video.